This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
I want to welcome you to this episode of Real Talk. Jesperson here with John Hicks. In just a second, the Emmy Award-winning titan of talk, Charles Adler, joins us. And then the president and CEO of the Alberta Chambers of Commerce, Shauna Feth, has her eye on Alberta business. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of things, replacement workers in cases of strikes, LNG exports out of Canada to international markets. That's coming up in the second half of the show. And Charles has a lot to take on. We're going to get to some of the stories. April 1st, obviously, another increase, $15 a ton with the federal carbon tax. And we saw some protests at Parliament Hill. Obviously, this is something that's becoming a bigger and bigger story. Another premier requesting another meeting with the prime minister, the embattled prime minister, you may say, on this file. And we're also going to take a look at a political story a little closer to home. You didn't have to be from Alberta to see what went down with Calgary's Mayor Jyoti Gondek, who appeared at the Calgary Flames game just a few days before we're recording this show. It was a Southeast Asian Heritage Night, a theme night, and the mayor was introduced as the first female mayor of Calgary, and then the chorus of boos, John, impossible to ignore.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable to watch. I can't imagine being her, making her way out to center ice as the boo birds just rained down. But I want to get Charles's take on that. What was your take the minute that you saw it?
The boo birds, I like that. Mine was, we always talk about this. Elected officials should be held to account, but I just feel like it's a bit much at a game to dramatically boo someone like that. I mean, Gondek's doing what she can to be the best mayor she can. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of people who have a lot of difficulties with what she's been doing. But
there's the big petition going on right now to get her out of office.
There's the recall Gondek stuff. But I just felt it was a bit much. I feel like elected officials in general, we've been talking about this, are facing this stuff in public more and more, and it's just going to convince them to not want to face the public as much, which is what we don't want. We want them front facing.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because you got to wonder, does she get off the ice and look at her chief of staff and say, what the hell were you doing putting me out there? Or is that something where they said, no, we got to front. We can't hide. We can't not be there. Did they not see it coming? I don't know. Listen, we spoke with Calgary's Mayor Gondek in an exclusive on March 25th. That's not that long ago. It was about a week ago that we talked to Dr. Gondek and asked her about how she was processing this petition. We asked her how her meeting went with this Landon Johnson guy. That's the organizer of this petition. I happened to see Brett Wilson over the weekend, the infamous, Calgary, what do you call it? He's a multi-millionaire. He's very successful in oil and gas. He's a very prominent guy, a philanthropist, and also when he wants to be, he's a real prick. Outspoken is like the gentle word that everybody uses for me. And I don't think that Brett would take issue with my characterization of that because he's got a sharp tongue. He uses his flamethrower, if I can borrow from our roster, and he was out there reminding people to sign that petition. So you got some big names in the southern part of the province that are attaching themselves to that, trying to run her out. Now it's obviously not going to work. She told us she's not going anywhere.
But she's got a year left, so maybe.
Yeah, well, at least we asked her, have you thought about whether or not you're going to run again? She goes, nah. She says, if I'm thinking about that, then I'm not focusing on the task at hand. Yeah. But obviously, deep down inside, you know that every politician has their political future in mind, right? Whether it's running again, whether it's not running again and trying to pave the way for a successor, or whether it's, potentially just getting out of there.
Yeah. Well, when we show the clip, and we will in a bit, it's pretty embarrassing. Like normally a mayor would come out, wave, and immediate boos. We'll show the clip, but she was just head down, running out to the center of the ice to get it over with. So,
no kidding. Hey, why don't we actually load that up? We'll go to that first when we go to Charles Adler. That's coming up in just a quick second. Let me make a quick mention to those of you that are ready for a change of pace on the career front. Maybe you're listening to this podcast on your way into the job that you just absolutely can't stand. You love the idea of working for yourself, getting out of a cubicle, not to mention unlimited earning potential. Oh, yeah, and like helping people find or sell their homes. a great sense of reward that comes with a career in real estate, and Relo is here to help. You can get started with Alberta's top real estate school at relo.ca. That's relo.ca. They're going to help you study for your exam. They're going to help you get your real estate license, and the relationship doesn't stop there. Plus, with Relo, you can study 100% online on your own schedule, so it's guaranteed to work for you. And right now, here's the best part, because you're hearing about this on Real Talk. You can save 20% off any Relo course. 20% off with the code REALTALK. All one word, Real Talk, when you get started today at relo.ca.
Lauren's comment already in the chat. They're booing the mayor that is instrumental in getting them a new arena. I was thinking that as well, as this was all happening. Like,
I saw a lot of people.
She's getting you a new barn.
Here's the thing, though, and to be fair, there's also been criticism that Calgary maybe had a better deal the previous incarnation of that arena deal. And,
first time around.
And, a lot of people have kind of pinned that on the mayor, whether that's fair or not, or her former chief of staff, Stephen Carter, whether that's fair or not. Sort of nitpicking, you might call it. I mean, when people are negotiating deals, they don't call it nitpicking. They call it negotiating. But they wanted to get an extra sidewalk in there, and they wanted some net zero stuff. I don't know all the details. And then the Flames walked away, and then the next deal that came around, they got it done. Yeah, they got it done with the help of the province and with Premier Danielle Smith, but it's going to cost the city more. So that might be one on the laundry list. Let's bring in our regular dance partner, first episode of every single week. We go to my good pal, Emmy Award-winning talk radio legend, Charles Adler. It's nice to see your face, buddy.
Are there more important things in life than freedom of expression? Is it possible in this day and age where everyone is going, freedom, the only thing is it possible that respect for family might be maybe at least as important as freedom? I don't know, respect for community, respect for yourself. There's not a morsel of respect shown for the human being and her family and her heritage. Can we please not put the dissing and the shouting and the yelling for all sorts of political reasons and motivated by freedom of expression? Can we not discipline ourselves and be grown up enough to understand that on that particular night when her heritage is being celebrated and she's a representative, the best known representative of that heritage that the Flames are trying to represent, is it not possible to just simmer down and be disciplined? Is that not something we would tell our children to do in a moment like that? And you don't have children doing this, you have adults behaving like children. If that's role modeling for your family, if that's treasuring family values, heritage, family, community, I'm sorry. That's an embarrassment to the entire community. And I don't care that not everybody was booing. Enough people were. And I don't think that there were very many people booing the Boo Birds. It was a bad moment for Calgary. Calgary was a bad moment for Albertans. And I treasure the fact that we have this opportunity to talk every Monday or Tuesday, depending on whether or not we're following a holiday weekend as we are. I'm glad that we have this opportunity to talk about the things that really matter to us, the things we really believe in. And I would say that 100% of Albertans, 100% of Canadians believe that there is nothing more important than respect for family and community. And nobody is suppressing freedom of expression in this country by saying, excuse me, for the next couple of minutes, can you just put the vitriol on hold, your freedom on hold, and exercise your freedom to show respect?
First of all, I love when you are fired up out of the gates. Second of all, for folks that haven't seen the moment, Johnny, want to tee it up? So here's Calgary's Mayor Jyoti Gondek coming out. You know the pregame ceremony, right, for these theme games. The National Hockey League, Calgary Flames celebrating Southeast Asian Heritage Night. Here it is.
In 2021, she became Calgary's first ever female mayor. Please welcome the Mayor of Calgary, Jyoti Gondek.
You can see her walking past the Flames bench here, walking out to center ice to join the rest of the distinguished guests to get ready to drop the puck. But, Chuck, you cannot ignore that. That is a resounding chorus. I'm wondering, I haven't spoken with her since that happened. I'm not sure, but I'm wondering what's going through her head as that's happening.
Well, I can't be inside her head, but it's impossible for me to think. And I think I can. Yeah, I'm a white guy. I get it. We gotta check the box off. Middle-aged white guy. I get that.
Middle-aged. That's
think,
optimistic. God bless you.
I've been calling myself middle-aged for 100 years now.
Yeah, apparently.
It's never
Johnny
made
and I
me feel badly.
We can't wait for your 130th birthday.
All right, old fossil.
No. You're
dinosaur.
You and I both are experienced.
All right, experienced, seasoned. All right. I love dinosaurs. When someone says you're a dinosaur, that's great because I grew up, being in love with.
Yeah,
you don't have to be from Drumheller to love dinosaurs. But anyway, the point is, I don't know how to be inside her head, but I do have some feeling for what it's like to be a member of a minority group. Okay, can I please say that? Minority group. Okay, she's a member of a minority group. She knows damn well that she's not being celebrated that night because she happens to have a political position. She has a high-profile position as a member of a minority group that broke through. Pardon me for using the term Jackie Robinson, but I grew up, with Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier. So pardon me. I know it's not politically correct or woke or whatever. To me, she's the Jackie Robinson, okay, for South Asians in Calgary. Okay, that's who she is, and that's what they're celebrating. And it's impossible for me to think for one moment that when she's getting booed like that, she's not feeling that people are trashing her heritage. I don't care what the motivation is. I get that the motivation is political, but once again, it's part of being a grown-up. You have to understand that your actions, like booing, have consequences. And regardless of what you mean, maybe you're just following the guy you were talking about a few moments ago, the multimillionaire shit disturber, Brett Wilson. Maybe they just are big believers in Brett Wilson, and Brett Wilson doesn't want her to be the mayor. I don't care about the damn maybes. When you're a mature person, you think about the consequences. And because of that particular occasion, celebrating the South Asian community in Calgary, when you're booing the most visible South Asian in the city, and that's what she's there to represent, not a political position, you are booing South Asians whether you like it or not. And that's a stupid thing to do. It's a disrespectful thing to do. And I'm going to say it. It's un-Albertan.
Alyssa, who I happen to know is watching from Calgary because she lets us know, says the mayor was there because it was Southeast Asian Heritage Night. This was not at all the time or place for belligerent nonsense. Lance, or Lauren, like we said, Johnny, you already read this, booing the mayor that's instrumental in a new arena. People are also pointing out, they're going, well, Gondek wasn't even on the negotiating committee for the new arena, whether they like it. That's not even the point. Rarely are the mayors ever on the committees negotiating the deals on anything, right? But they're the ones they're the face of it. When you're the face of the government, when you're the face of the forward, the forward-facing you are Calgary City Council, right? In so many ways, as Amarjeet Sohi is the face of Edmonton's council right now. They've got their own issues. We haven't even talked about Andre Corbould. I don't know if you heard about this. We won't get in the weeds on this right now. Also, because I don't have all the facts. Everybody's holding their cards really close to their chest. Corbould joined us in studio a while ago after the shooting at Edmonton City Hall, and then he was gone, Chuck. He was gone like 2 weeks later after his Real Talk appearance, and I tweeted about it, and I said things in Edmonton are about to go from bad to worse with the resignation of Andre Corbould. I get somebody in a very senior position down at City Hall that says, not a resignation. They said that's an important point. Not fired, not a resignation. It was a mutually agreed upon exit. But there's a shit show at Edmonton City Hall. There's obviously a shit show at Calgary City Hall. And whether you like it or not, if you're the mayor, you're the face of the shit show, right? So that kind of comes with the territory.
I totally get that. I'm just saying that while people are looking at the shit show and having opinions on it, and I have no opinion about that shit show right now, because that's not what I care about the most. I care about the big show. We are a community of communities. We are a community of families. We have family values. I don't care that some radicals and extremists over the years have abused that expression. I believe in family. I value the family. I value yours and mine and the family of everyone who's paying attention to this podcast right now, regardless of what their heritage is. and I value the fact that people care deeply about their heritage. Okay. And I'm one of those people who spent most of my life dissing the idea of hyphenated Canadians. And I never hyphenate myself. I'd be thrilled to go back to everyone just being a Canadian. I get that, but I'm not taking a position, not staking out a position here on multiculturalism, blah, 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 blah. I'm just saying that I respect people's heritage. And regardless of what their politics may be, for 30 seconds, damn it, I'm not asking for much here. Throw me a bone. For 30 seconds, please respect her heritage.
I want to get back to the live chat because it's humming this morning. Erica says, saying that the people that are booing the mayor are acting like children is an insult to children. Most kids would know not to do that. I like this from Alberta Ginger, who says Jyoti needs to be like Gary Bettman, the NHL commissioner, and use this to become more powerful. That guy lives off hate. You've seen Johnny.
Of course.
When anytime Gary Bettman appears in public, everybody boos him, and that guy, I think,
feeds off it.
He grows an inch every single time that
Yeah.
happens. He's going to be 5 feet tall pretty soon. Big Oiler fan in our chat says this has nothing to do with Jyoti's heritage and everything to do with her woke priorities at a time when we can't afford them. Okay. Jim says the Flames owners would be laughing about all of this. Randy says, let's be truthful here. Like probably more than half of the folks going to Flames game are the betas that hate her because she's female and a minority leader. Kathy says the mayor shattered a glass ceiling and she will always be remembered for that, whether you agree with her policies or not. Tobias says it was fun watching the mayor get booed at the Flames game. A lot of people bring in different things here. Wise Kyle says they boo her for being crap at her job, not because she's South Asian. If Danielle Smith got booed, everybody like Charles would call it a damaging attack on Smith that is deserved. Like, come on, Charles.
No, I would not.
Charles Adler, would you boo the Premier of Alberta if she appeared at a hockey game?
Who said that?
Well, it's Wise Kyle, but if you want to get under his skin, you can call him Whiskey Le.
Kyle, I love you, okay? I thank you for sending in that comment because it gives me an opportunity to say something I deeply believe. I deeply believe that Danielle Smith is one of the most intelligent and talented people I ever met, who I knew in my heart would be premier someday. That's what I believed. Now, I believe she would be a different kind of premier than she is now. But I'm not disrespecting her talent. And when she wants to represent Alberta in a situation like that, if they brought her out as a representative of the democracy that we call and love Alberta, I would not boo her at all. Because if I boo her, I'm booing the democracy that she represents. I'm booing you and all the people who support her. And I'm also booing all the people who don't support her. There are things in life much larger than political perspectives. Danielle Smith is a human being who has been democratically elected the premier of a province that I happen to adore. And I'm not going to get into all the reasons why I adore Alberta, but I do not adore booing, and I do not adore booing the representative, in this case, of the Southeast Asian community of Calgary, and I would never, never applaud the idea of booing the premier of Alberta.
I think that, I'm all for hearty participation in democracy and all that kind of stuff and whatever. But I just also think you got to check yourself. And people are making the point, too. We actually got a couple of emails from folks just saying, hey, hopefully you're going to talk about this week. I said, talk about it. We're going to lead with it because I think it's part of a bigger conversation. But at what, and so I'm okay. Like, I mean, I've been booed in public, Charles, and I've been applauded in public, and I'm not a mayor, I'm not a premier. But I will say this: if I am one of those about to express my inherent right to sort of make audible representation of how I'm feeling in a hockey arena, if I'm one of those that's about to exercise that freedom, but then I hear Beasley, their PA announcer, start to say, on Southeast Asian Heritage Night, and make an additional note, let's add another layer to this, that she was the first female mayor of Calgary, and I'm still you got to think of the optics, right? You got to think of the optics. It's not a political rally. The mayor's not cutting the ribbon on something. It's some public forum that you don't like. This is the midst of a ceremony where other people are participating. We're talking about the cultural fabric of Calgary and Alberta. The Calgary Flames are, the National Hockey League is broadcasting this around the world, and this is how Calgary's choosing to represent itself. And yeah, we're going to get some emails from people that are saying, not all Calgarians, it wasn't all of us. I mean, I saw, who I understand, one in our chat, the name's escaping me, I apologize, but one of our more conservative commentators, I think it was Seventh Pilot maybe, wrote in and said, hey, it doesn't sound like everybody was booing, but there sure were enough that it was noticeable. That's for sure. You can't ignore it.
It was, okay, let's put a number on it. Ryan, I think all of us have done enough shows in stadia, in arenas. We know this stuff cold. Thousands of people were booing.
If there were 18,000, if there were 18,000 in there, if there were 18,000 in the rink, I'd say that's a minimum 5,000 people booing. Minimum.
That's right. So that is a huge critical mass. She got disrespected. She got booed. It's a big deal because we live in an age of cruelty right now. And cruelty has become cool. That's what that was. And cruelty to me, to your civic official, to a person who's representing that particular community in your community called Calgary, in your larger community called Alberta, I'm sorry, as old-fashioned as this is, okay, I'll get away from being a middle-aged. I'll just be a senior here. I'll be your elder. Shame on you. I'm not talking to the kids. I'm talking to people, most of whom are either my age or 10 or 20 or 30 years younger than me. Shame on you. Shame on us for behaving that way, not just publicly in Calgary, but as Ryan Jesperson just told you, this was broadcast all over Hell's Half Acre because it was a network broadcast. You never know who might be watching. Millions were watching, and millions were watching people in Calgary embarrassing themselves.
Just a correction. That was Harnarayan Singh doing the intro for her as well.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So he was doing, South Asian night or whatever.
They had Harnarayan doing the PA in this. Oh, okay,
he
good.
often does sometimes he does the puck drop intros. He did it that night.
Thank you for the correction.
No worries.
And by the way, Harnarayan has been, to this point, we've been keeping this kind of behind the scenes for now, just waiting for our spot.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of Real Talk.
He's a huge fan of Real Talk.
And he's in touch with us all the time. And so he's agreed that when the season's done, he's going to come hang out with us in studio. And I'm really looking forward to it. For people that aren't familiar with him, he basically started, Chuck, Harnarayan Singh on the Punjabi broadcast of Hockey Night in Canada, seamlessly transitioned over onto, what do you want to call it, like the mainstream or the English, whatever you want to call it, like the main broadcast. And he's been kicking ass, and so I think that's great. Johnny, thanks for the correction. Dr. Bradley Martin is in our live chat right now. Great to see him in there. He says, I can't stand what the Premier stands for, her messaging, being a physician, while the United Conservatives are trying to make our jobs impossible, but I would never boo her in public. We still need to be adults. Nondescript says, this is the dehumanization of people you don't agree with for political gain. More on this in a second. I mean, speaking to Danielle Smith, Chuck, I want to put a video in front of you, kind of what do you want to call it? I mean, her and Stephen Guilbeault, the federal environment minister, how fascinating when the premier was with us in studio a few weeks ago, and she had just met with the prime minister. I said, how's your relationship with Justin Trudeau? She goes, it's actually not that bad. She says, my real beef is with Stephen Guilbeault. This is who she can't stand. So he sends out a tweet wanting her to eat her own words. That in just a quick second when we return with Charles Adler. But first, I wanted to remind you, if you're one of those Canadians right now that's looking to prepare themselves for some new opportunities in the job market, you want to school up, level up your understanding in industries or areas that are really catching your attention. Could be artificial intelligence, could be medical research, could be human resources. Whatever it is, Athabasca University has programs and courses for you. They're Canada's open university, where your only commute is to your device. That's why so many Canadians have opened up their options with the online offerings at Athabasca University. The barriers are removed. You can check out their website, athabascau.ca, to select your path. Understand what accessibility and flexibility really looks like when it comes to a post-secondary journey. You can learn about online courses, online professional development if you're not looking for a full meal deal. And if you are, check out. They've got graduate programs, PhDs. They got an MBA there at athabascau.ca. Our friends at California Closets are ready to hear from you. They've got a team of designers and installers ready to go when you're ready to get serious about decluttering and getting organized. Nobody does custom closets and storage solutions better than California Closets, and we're talking about the entire home. It could be your bedroom, the spare bedroom, maybe a home workspace. Could be your living area, the family entertainment room, the living room. How about maybe an arts and crafts cupboard for the kids? Get all those markers and glue sticks out of the way. And don't even get me started on what they can do for your garage. It all starts with a free design consultation at californiaclosets.ca. And if your investment in your home this spring is going to be on the outside, you're looking to bring your outdoor space to life, front yard, backyard, or both, look no further than Eden Landscaping. We worked with them last spring into last summer, and they absolutely transformed our backyard. We can't wait to show you how those Japanese lilacs start to explode this spring. We're super excited. Those are plants we really wanted. We wanted those trees in our yard. We've never had them before. We also had real drainage issues. Mike and his team addressed that. I could go on and on and on, but here's the thing. You know what you need. You know what you're looking for. Why not visit landscapeedmonton.ca and get that conversation started? They're great listeners at Eden Landscaping. You can check out their design philosophy. Again, that's Eden Landscaping at landscapeedmonton.ca. Of course, we're just a day removed from April 1st as the carbon tax rose by another $15 a ton from $65 to $80, drawing some protesters at Parliament Hill. And, of course, the feds are firing back with their own messaging. The Environment Minister, Stephen Guilbeault, federal Environment Minister, tweeting, "It wasn't that long ago that good climate policy wasn't dominated by cynical partisan games and which team jersey you wore." Writes the federal minister, conservative leaders could once admit publicly that Canada carbon rebates made the carbon price a good deal, both for their wallets and the environment. And then he posts this video, shot not too long ago at the Danielle Smith Fraser Forum. Here's the Premier of Alberta in her own words.
I do my family's taxes, so I know we got $808.50. We get an extra little bump for me and my husband because we live in a rural environment. And when I go back and look at what I spent last year in carbon taxes, because I was working from home, I wasn't commuting, my gas bills were way down, and even the amount of tax that I paid on my home heating, because we're principally natural gas where I live, I would say that I probably ended up better off with that transfer. And so I think a lot of people would be of the view that if you're going to implement some kind of carbon or revenue neutral carbon pricing, that's probably not a bad way of doing it.
That was Danielle Smith on September 10th of 2021, before she was the Premier of Alberta. Over to you.
I love you, Danielle. Before she was against it, she was for it. Before she was a politician, where it was to her advantage to be against it, when she was just a citizen, like all the rest of us, she was for it. Why? Because when she was just a citizen, she was just practical. She was just being honest. I've said before that one of Danielle Smith's great talents is that she can lie casually, easily, and frequently. People think, oh, I'm really dissing her. No. I'm just telling you that is a political talent, and I've told you 1,000 times, regardless of where her politics are and mine, she's a very talented person, and I respect her. And so that's a mode that she was in not that long ago, where she was being casual and honest. She can be just as casual when she's honest as when she's dishonest. Do I prefer the honest Danielle Smith? Yeah, that's the person that you saw there that I thought the world of. I always thought that I'd be her number one supporter. And I still believe, and I'll go to my grave with this, I will still believe that Danielle Smith could become Premier just as easily being honest as dishonest. Unfortunately, she's chosen, in my opinion, the darker path. But either way, she's very talented, and that clip is the honest to goodness Danielle Smith that I absolutely 100% admire, the honest version.
That said, maybe she's picked the horse that she thinks is the winning horse, and she's going to ride it. I mean, here's the updated 338 Canada federal polling. This as of March 31st, a couple of days ago. They've got the Conservatives looking at where the seat count is now versus where it would be projected to be. Were there a federal election held, the Conservatives would gain 91 seats, Chuck, giving them 210 in Ottawa. The Liberals would lose 97 seats, which qualifies as basically a sinkhole. And that might not be a strong enough metaphor. Leaving them with 63. The Bloc would gain 6. The NDs would remain where they are. The Greens would remain where they are. So, you look at this. Danielle Smith hosted or at least participated in Poilievre's Axe the Tax rally in Edmonton just the other day. This could be a position where, as a politician, they say, what's most advantageous to me? What's grabbing the public's attention? It's a cynical perspective, but it might be a winning one.
Yeah, and I guess one of the problems I have with all conversations, whether they're local, whether they're on the air, whether they're off the air, it doesn't matter. When we justify, when we rationalize dishonesty, disrespect, cruelty, and all those other things that we tell our kids that we don't believe in, when we justify them in terms of, well, you know what, it's not cool to be cruel, but sometimes you're rewarded. It's not cool to be dishonest, but sometimes you're rewarded. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you that the politics, that particular brand of politics is working right now in this populist era of casual cruelty. But I am saying that I would still rather, when we're talking publicly and privately, stay with our values. We can say, yeah, it gets rewarded publicly, but that in and of itself doesn't make it a good. And I still prefer talking about the good.
We've got an interesting note here, and I want to let people know, if you didn't catch our March 28th episode with your buddy Chuck, Max Fawcett, lead columnist at Canada's National Observer, we got into Pierre Poilievre's Axe the Tax, Spike the Hike rallies. We talked about political slogans. We talked about carbon pricing, environmental action, political alliances, and the rest. Great episode. It's had great uptake, by the way. It obviously resonated with people. And it prompted this email from Ron that I wanted to put in front of you, Chuck, in closing here, because as most people know, I think, or maybe not, I guess that's kind of the point Ron's making, the Alberta fuel tax increased at the same time as the carbon tax did, and the lion's share of the increase is the provincial share, not the federal share. Now, listen, I love paying less for everything than more, generally speaking, as a rule. Who doesn't? But facts are facts. And so Ron writes in to talk@ryanjesperson.com, says, Jesper, I've noticed something mighty suspicious about all this aggressive hand-wringing surrounding the carbon tax increase. Hey, for visual aesthetic, Johnny, you think you could maybe roll that video of the protest and demonstration outside Parliament while I'm reading this email? Chuck, did you see this? I saw somebody, and I'm not making light of good for people that show up to protest, good for them. But I saw kind of a right-wing independent media outlet presenting this video, and I thought, hey, listen, maybe if you film it even slower, it'll make the line look even longer. But he says the protest is growing outside Parliament. Somebody commented, looks like your average Tim Hortons on a Tuesday morning. But goes on, Ronnie. On one hand, says Ron, the Conservative leader, Poilievre, holding these Axe the Tax rallies, but says next to nothing about the Alberta fuel tax increase on the exact same day. Now, what's the difference, says Ron? One's a policy put forward by Poilievre's opponent in the next election. The other is a fuel tax increase put forward by a fellow Conservative, Danielle Smith. Ron says, surely I can't be the only one who has noticed this cynical act of cherry picking of which tax increases to rail against. Says it seems like Conservatives don't care about tax increases if they're put forward by other Conservatives. No, man, they only care about tax increases put forward by their opponents. That from Ron, who I think makes a compelling point. What do you think?
Well, I think it's interesting that the provincial fuel tax, which went up 14 cents a liter, as opposed to the carbon tax, which went up 3 cents a liter. So, that's roughly 5 to 1. They both went up the same day, and the protest, the Danielle Smith protest, was against the carbon tax. Call that anything you like. I call it a fraud. It's defrauding the public to raise your tax 5 times more than the guy you're opposing, and then to throw all the vitriol at the guy you're opposing when there's obvious evidence that when you were just a regular citizen like all the citizens you're serving, you were on the same side as the dreaded and dreadful Mr. Guilbeault. So, I mean, I know you're rewarded in the polls. The poll numbers say you're good. And maybe that's all you'll ever care about in your life is where your poll numbers are. I'd like to believe that you've got the talent and you've got the fortitude to be successful, even doing the things you believe in, as opposed to just the things that you're told to believe in. And here's the real problem in life. When you're a leader, people actually follow you. So the lesson that you're teaching people is don't do the stuff you value. Don't do the stuff you're believing in. Do the stuff that professional spin doctors are telling you to do, that professional pollsters are rewarding you for. And after a while, you'll forget what you believe anyway. After a while, you'll forget what you value, because the only thing you'll value is political success. And why do I meet a lot of depressed, retired politicians? Because they spent too much of their lives doing things they didn't believe in. Who were they serving? What's public service about? What's service about? I don't care what your faith group is and whether you have any faith. The faiths that I followed over the years most strongly, for all the self-evident reasons, were Christianity and Judaism. And in both Christianity and Judaism, I was taught every single day to serve somebody, not disserve. If you're just following your poll numbers, if that's all you're doing minute to minute, you're not serving, you're disserving. Is that what you want to be in your life? I'm not talking to Danielle Smith now. I'm talking to everyone who's listening to this, who's thinking, maybe I should just shred my belief system. Maybe I should just shred my values and forget about them. Maybe the only thing I should value is the poll number. What a crummy way to waste a life.
Travis says, with this fuel tax having been suspended for the last while, greater part of the last 2 years for some financial relief, says there's no way, says it's not a mistake, certainly, that provincial fuel tax was reinstated and hit at the same time as all of this. Sharon says, we're paying GST on top of both of them. That Alberta fuel tax, by the way, really interesting. If people want to get in the weeds themselves, do some digging and research, you as Albertans, as the price of oil drops, and you never want me explaining policy, Charles. My job is to kind of try to dumb it down to the basic level where most of us at the street level can understand it. But this is the insurance policy. So if the price of oil drops, Albertans pay higher taxes in other, so the provincial coffers aren't hit as hard. So it's like the people are the backstop, the guarantee against the international oil markets, which is a tough position for folks to be in. I guess finance ministers and governments have to make tough decisions there. Before we go, I wanted to save this. I wasn't sure if I was going to use this or not, but is it on your radar that today is the 5-year anniversary, Charles? The 5-year anniversary of the beginning of both of our end on Chorus Radio. On April 2nd, 5 years ago, I joined you on your national talk show. You asked me what was going on in Alberta. Jason Kenney had united the Conservative parties and was trending toward a big electoral win, which he would secure a couple of weeks after you and I talked. You asked me about Mark Smith, the Conservative candidate in Drayton Valley, saying from the pulpit that gay love was not real love. I said that Kenney has to disqualify this guy as a candidate if he's going to be serious. And of course, both of us ended up paying the piper. What do you remember about 5 years ago today?
What I remember is that I thought I was at that time in my career, I was asking myself, if I have to give up my career of going on to the next thing, whatever it is, will I be proud of the last thing I did that was memorable? And so I was extremely proud to have you on my show. I was extremely proud to follow up that show with my dismembering of Jason Kenney's character. I know he got rewarded. He won the election and all that. He was gonna win that anyway. Everyone knew that he was going to win. That's not the point. This was an opportunity to give Jason Kenney, who was my friend, a chance to redeem himself. And that too is a big deal that I was brought up in and brought up with. The idea of redemption. It's one of the greatest ideas ever. And I wanted to give him a chance to redeem himself. And he chose not to. And so we made some history that week. And am I proud of what you did? Am I proud of what I did? Absolutely. Am I proud of what Chorus did? I will go to my deathbed not giving a rat's ass what Chorus did. I care about what Ryan Jesperson did and what I did and what we did in behalf of people who wanted the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I wanted what we did on behalf of people who respect the larger things in life. Did either of us think that we would be rewarded by Chorus for going after Jason Kenney? Of course not. But we believed in bigger things. Are you starving because you're not at Chorus? No. Am I? No. Both of us are well-nourished, well-respected. Most important, we respect ourselves. Our families respect us. Our communities respect us. Do I give a rat's ass whether Jason Kenney has a chip on his shoulder the size of the Rock of Gibraltar about Ryan Jesperson and Charles Adler? No, I don't.
We would love to play a clip of that memorable interview, but as most people know, the minute that I was canned and the minute you were as well, the company wiped all the records of all of our shows, of all of our interviews. The archives are cleared. And so there's no way for us to go back to that moment, but I'll never forget it. I felt like I knew that there would be consequences for that, considering who pulls the strings over there to this day. But I wouldn't change a thing, Chuck. This show would not be here without that. And for that, I am forever grateful.
I love you very much. I love the people who support your show. I love the people of Alberta. And I'm never going to feel that was a bad moment in my life. It was one of the greatest moments in my life. And pardon me for being, grateful. It's another thing that my grandmother taught me, another one of our values, gratitude. I will always be grateful to you for inspiring me to do what I did.
Big Oiler fans in the chat right now says it was embarrassing for both of you. 5 years later, still here, still listening, here to let me know. Chuck, we'll talk to you again in 6 days, pal.
Thank you.
All right, Charles Adler every Monday, unless it's following a stat right here, only on Real Talk. One of our other favorite traditions, we love this. Shauna Feth, President and CEO of Alberta Chambers of Commerce, joins us the first Monday or the first episode of every month with her eye on Alberta business. You want a pretty clear understanding of where the thousands and thousands of Alberta small, medium, big business owners are standing on issues that matter, driving the economy, employing people. This is a segment you won't want to miss. That's coming up in less than 2 minutes, but I got to put a quick date on your radar, and that is the 12th of April. Friesen Brothers getting set to open their 17th location. This is that West Edmonton location, Friesen Brothers Glenora, that I've been just going off about ever since I had a chance to tour the store. They were just starting to stock the shelves, John. Can you imagine how much work goes into stocking every shelf of a once empty warehouse turning into a legendary grocery location?
I was going to say this. My wife went there yesterday for 15%
to the south side,
and we noticed this, aside from the other grocers that we won't mention, everything is always stocked to the brim, and it looks... It's like it's on display.
They don't mess around, man.
And I get it. That's how you sell. That's how you get them to buy more. But it looks so beautiful all the time. There's never sparse areas. Everything's full and stocked.
They don't do sparse. Yeah. They don't do sparse. And I'm so excited for you Real Talkers to check out this. If you're anywhere near Edmonton, if you're an hour outside of Edmonton, I'm going to say on the record, it's worth the drive. The butcher shop is going to blow your mind. Their sourdough stations are unbelievable. They got a freaking wine bar in there, you guys. And I could go on and on and on. Let me just say this. Alberta grown, Alberta owned, Friesen Brothers, April 12th. Friesen Brothers Glenora opens its doors. Congratulations to our friends there. Hey, if you're a professional engineer and you're looking for a new opportunity, either you feel a little bit, maybe things are stagnant, dried up at your current firm, they're not appreciating you, you know you're not reaching your potential, and quite frankly, you don't even care about the projects you're working on, Apex Automation's hiring right now, doing some of the coolest, most innovative work across the country. BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and beyond. Apex is automating processes, doing amazing work in like potash mining, natural gas. They're working on pipelines. They're working in the ports in Vancouver. Artificial intelligence, agriculture, autonomous vehicles. You get the idea. Check out the careers link today if you're a PEng or maybe you're a university student that's about to get there. They would love to talk to you. They're hiring up fast so they can continue to stay on top of the work that they're securing, because everybody knows the name, Apex Automation. And one quick note as we prepare, I hate to say this, as we brace for what has come to be known as wildfire season. There's also, of course, some implications around flooding in the spring, too. Our friends at Complete Care Restoration hope that you never have to meet any of their team members. But if disaster strikes, could be fire, could be flood, maybe you found asbestos or black mold somewhere unexpected, don't leave this to just anybody. You need their team of certified and experienced professionals, and they're ready to respond 24/7. If, heaven forbid, disaster strikes, we, with 2 thumbs up, recommend the team at Complete Care Restoration.
Big shout out to Tawny, Kenzie Kraken, Plain Power, Ken Clack, all hitting us with $5 donations in the last couple minutes there.
Oh, I love this. And Plain Power, you see this, contributing at $5.01.
Just had to up everyone.
Wants to start the Super Chat bidding war, which we love. Tony says, in the context of Chuck and I getting canned from Chorus, revenge is the best success. You and Chuck continue to kick it out of the park. Keep going, Tony. We promise we will with your support. And this from Kenzie, who says, Charles Adler does nothing for your show. Says, I keep coming back, though, so it can't be all bad.
Well, that's the point.
And you know what? And hey, Chuck's okay with not everybody loving him. As a matter of fact,
he loves it.
It's a recipe for disaster if you're a talk host or anybody in any job or calling in life to try to get everybody to like you, to try to get everybody to agree with you. It's a fool's errand. It'll never work, and you're guaranteed to fail. So just keep it real, keep bringing the hot takes, and listen, Kenzie, we care what you have to say as well. So thank you so much for being a regular contributor, not just watching the show, not just hitting like, not just subscribing on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, but also contributing in that live chat. And hey, the super chat, we sure appreciate that. It is the first Monday-ish following a holiday, so it's the Tuesday this week in April that we get to put our eye on Alberta business, courtesy of the president and CEO of the Alberta Chambers of Commerce, a great friend of this show. She can take some complicated stuff and boil it down so the rest of us can understand it. Shauna Feth, how was your long weekend? Nice to see you.
Fantastic, Ryan. How about yours?
Well, I mean, the last time I saw you, it was a packed house, literally hundreds of people at the Chateau Lacombe Hotel in Alberta's capital city, as you and your colleagues put on another incredibly successful political action day, followed by the MLA dinner. I was honored, as I have for, I don't know, feels like 10 years now, to participate on your media panel. But this is a full day that you and your team put on to basically tackle a whole bunch of different issues impacting business and to understand the politics behind it. How did you feel at the end of it?
Yeah, I just really excited about, we were sold out, completely sold out. We've had about 330 in the room, so a little bit oversubscribed, but just really happy with the turnout. Happy with, just the engagement of government. So, the Premier was there. I must say, it's not often you go to an event where the Premier is one of the last people to leave the room. So we were really excited at her level of engagement. Everybody who wanted a chance to speak with her was able to do that. We had 13 ministers in the room. So again, just fantastic opportunity for our members to really get in front of the ministers, get in front of their MLAs and have frank conversations about what's going on in their regions in the province. We were able to host 4 of the NDP leadership candidates for lunch to just share their platforms with our members and with the business community at large. So that was, again, just an added bonus for those who participated in the day, just to see, what that candidate race looks like and what they are really talking about in terms of where they want to take that party in the next iteration and as the next leader. Of course, you talk about the media panel. It's really funny, Ryan, and again, thank you for participating. You're always such a valuable contributor. But I heard after the fact that a lot of the people that attended would have liked to have you speak, or have you guys go for 2 hours versus an hour, like to extend it just a little bit longer, because there's so much valuable information that you and Jen and Graham shared. So, great presentations by Lisa Bitton, who really talked about what's going on with the industry, the oil and gas industry in the country. Great economists from Alberta Central, Charles St. Arnaud. And then we had just a fantastic LNG panel. So we were able to have Dale Swampy, who's the CEO of the National Coalition of Chiefs, Ted Bauer, who is with the Alberta Indigenous Opportunities Corporation, and then Joel Graham, who's with TC Energy and was critical in the Coastal GasLink project, just really talking about what is the significance of LNG, especially to Alberta, but more broadly to the nation, in terms of how we can help reduce global emissions, how we can engage in true economic reconciliation with our First Nations, and, just what is that shared prosperity all Canadians can realize from LNG and our ability to export.
Okay, I want to touch on a couple things. Number one, that media panel, it was me, Graham Thompson, longtime political columnist, and Jen Gerson, who I think does a great job. The most fun part for me, number one, it's Chatham House rules. So for anybody that isn't familiar with that, it means that what's said in the room stays in the room. So it kind of creates a bit more of a free-flowing vibe. People go behind the scenes. People tell tales out of school. It's quite entertaining. What made it particularly fun is that Jen had recently written a column about my Trudeau interview, basically saying that, and I'm summarizing, she didn't think it made any sense for Trudeau to talk to me. So we had a lot of fun up on stage litigating that briefly, but I thought that she was fantastic. Graham is obviously a wealth of information. Let me ask you, though, to credit your team, you get the premier in the room. That's great. It takes a lot of planning. Obviously, you're a credible organization, so that's going to happen. But to get 13 ministers in a room together, that's bonkers. Like for your members to have, I'm just saying, I want to pump your tires for a quick second. For people to have access to 13 cabinet ministers at one time, that's wild.
It is. And, we're just so appreciative. I must say, and I've said this, I think, on your show before, but we've just had such a high level of engagement with this government and our ability to actually get in front of the ministers, actually have that opportunity to talk about our policies, talk about, the results of the research and the data that we do with our business community. And I think this is just indicative of that, is that their high level of engagement and appreciation for the work that we're doing on behalf of our members and the businesses in the province.
Okay, I want to transition, because I would imagine, you said premier's there answering a whole bunch of questions from a bunch of people based on the news cycle. I have to imagine that some of those had to do with liquid natural gas, with LNG. Maybe we'll transition, or we can talk parallel lines here from provincial to federal politics, but obviously a relatively high profile visit from the Greek Prime Minister added to that conversation around what a lot of people believe is a really, a lot of people are really bullish about the potential of Canadian LNG exports. Does the Alberta Chamber have a specific articulated position on this, and what you'd like to see, what you think it'll take to get a good deal done?
Well, I think it's more of, the Canadian government, so this is the third head of state in the last 18 months. So we've had Germany, we've had Japan, and now we've have Greece. And Greece, by the way, have just been putting infrastructure in place so that they can actually accept LNG exports into their country, and are really, going forward aggressively in terms of trying to get these resources into their nation. And our government is not even acknowledging these opportunities, and continue to focus on policies that are not having an impact. And if they are having an impact, it's very minimal on global emissions. And really, even obstructing, I'll go so far as to say obstructing our ability to really maximize on the resources that we have in the province of Alberta, but even the resources that we have across the nation, which could really have an impact on reducing global emissions. And, I say all this because, again, we're not in a position that we shouldn't be looking at these net zero policies, looking at a trajectory and timeline that works for the industry itself, but just these incredible opportunities that are knocking on our door as a nation and are just being turned away with really limited consultation with our business community, limited consultation with the First Nations communities that, have vested in inputs into these, vested investments and stakes into what could be very prosperous for their communities as well. So I guess I'm just, it's just interesting to me that we can just outright say no without consulting with those stakeholders that actually could support having a real impact on global emissions.
I just read to Charles Adler an email from a viewer named Ron who was talking about the carbon tax increase on April 1st and also Alberta's fuel rebates expiring at the same time. There's implications for people's pocketbooks. There's implications for people that are advocating for climate action. What are the implications for Alberta's business community?
Well, just, the same as they are to anybody who needs fuel in order to power their vehicles, power their fleets, power their buildings. It's just as businesses, they're impacted just as individuals are with those prices going up and all the inflationary pressures that we're seeing for all inputs as a result of that, whether it's logistically to get the goods that you need, whether it's, just powering your own vehicles, like I said, your own fleets. It runs the gamut and really impacts all aspects of business.
There's obviously a pretty high profile tweet from the federal environment minister, Stephen Guilbeault, citing Danielle Smith, which we played earlier in the show. It's drawing more and more attention, obviously, to that rivalry. I don't think I would say perceived. I mean, I think the two of them obviously don't see eye to eye. An open letter, I'm sure you've read it, released by the Calgary Chamber of Commerce just a few days ago, March 27th, calling on the feds and written to Minister Guilbeault to withdraw the oil and gas emissions cap. This is from the Calgary Chamber. You're the president and CEO of the Alberta Chambers, obviously many members there. But how strongly do you think that this position would resonate among your bigger membership base?
Very strongly. I mean, we signed on to the letter as well as the Canadian Chamber, almost 20 organizations representing various industry stakeholders. And really the letter to Minister Guilbeault is just really calling on him to take a look at this, because it's not taking into consideration the impact it's going to have on investment. It's not taking into consideration how it creates economic uncertainty. It's punitive really at the end of the day. And it's not capturing the fact that we've actually reduced our emissions by 24% from 2012 to 2021. It's not taking into consideration the fact that this can actually impact the sale of TMX itself. If it goes through a valuation process where this cap and trade is in place. It's not thinking about incentivization on other reduction strategies such as CCUS. And again, just not taking the industry into consultation when they're talking about some of these broad-reaching policies that are going to have a really negative impact.
Federal budget comes out April 16th, pretty much 2 weeks from when we're talking, and there's a ton going on. Shauna, this is like, I'm envisioning like a movie scene with a snowball fight. There's a whole bunch of snowballs coming at you right now, although weird metaphor because you and I aren't fighting, but still, I want you to just pick and choose. Let me say this. You and I are walking up to the buffet table together, okay? Because I've got a whole list of bullet points here. Changes to the temporary foreign worker program, which I have to assume will impact many of your members. And I know it's not limited to ag, But I know that my friends that work in agriculture, this is big for them, the temporary foreign worker program. There's unilateral changes being proposed to EI, to the employment insurance program. Obviously, Bill C-58, which would prevent the use of replacement workers in the event of labor strikes, like, for example, a work stoppage at the Port of Vancouver, which would impact the entire country. And then there's that national Pharmacare program, which we're still, I think, at an entry level of understanding. The average Canadian priced out at approximately $40 billion over the next 3 years. So there you have it. There's the buffet table. What's the first one you want to sink the ladle into? What do you want to take on?
Well, obviously, like you said, it's there's just so many things going on right now, and so many letters, quite honestly. So, first of all, Pharmacare. I was on your show last month, and we had released a hot button survey into the market. And again, thank you for sharing that with your listeners and your viewers. So, hot button surveys for ACC, we have a data and research platform called Alberta Perspectives. And when we have things emerging that we really don't have policies or positions on, it's a great way for us to just get a really quick pulse of what our members and the business community at large is thinking. So we did a really quick, it was a week-long hot button survey. We had over 500 respondents to it. And when you look at the composition of who was responding, over 70% of those that responded nearly 70% were CEOs or the senior leader in their organization. And what we heard on National Pharmacare, and again, you got to think about the cost of this. So it's estimated in the first 3 years that this is going to cost $40 billion to our country. So just putting that context around it in terms of just the economics of it. But the majority of Alberta businesses also don't think that Pharmacare would actually help them attract additional employees. They don't have any confidence. Over 70% don't have any confidence in the government to administer such a far-reaching program. And, it's more importantly, I think the indicator for me was that they really believe that the feds need to work with the province in terms of jurisdictional issues such as Pharmacare and healthcare. So we were really happy to, be able to do that and actually get some data around it in terms of what is our province, what are our business communities and our members thinking. And then, so maybe I'll just go from the top of your list where you started. Yeah,
you take it where you want.
Yeah, so the changes to temporary foreign workers, that one is where they're looking to reduce from 30% to 20%. So just to give, again, some idea, there's approximately 20,000 TFWs in the province of Alberta working right now. And to your point, Ryan, almost 17,000 of those are working in the agri-food or agriculture sector. So just imagine the impact that that's going to have on our ability to provide food for ourselves and the world. Really, really watching that one closely and have a lot of stake there in terms of supporting our ag members. The EI changes. So this one is, again, there's been a commission in place for 80 years that has administered this program. We saw this during COVID the reason the commission is in place is because there's no tax dollars that go into EI. It's completely funded by employers and employees. And employers at 1.4 times the employees' contributions, but yet the government is, putting policy in place that actually circumvents the commission's, the commission's ability to administer that in good faith. And so this happened during COVID with the CERB payments that went out. So billions of dollars in reserve was drained from EI during that program. Again, without any consultation with the commission itself. Now what's happening is they're looking at putting policy in place that would have parental benefits extended beyond the 50 weeks. So again, it's differential treatment for one group. It doesn't take into consideration those who have involuntarily lost their jobs or have had to take EI because they're sick or ill. And so it's really about just unilaterally creating policy that actually doesn't align with the program itself. So that's really where we're, Nancy Healy, who's the Commissioner for Employers, has written to Minister Boyce-Snow on that. And we're looking to hear some sort of response to, how they're planning on implementing that. Bill C-58, which is replacement workers. This is one that we wrote a letter on. So I'm not sure if the links are going in or if anybody can get those through this. But,
Shauna, let me just, I'll let everybody know that we're going to put, so you're mentioning a ton is obviously there's a ton of resources through the Alberta Chambers. So we'll put a whole bunch of links into the show notes on the podcast and YouTube episode so people can follow up and do more reading on it.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's fantastic. I really appreciate that, Ryan. And so Bill C-58, again, replacement workers for federally regulated industries. So Port of Vancouver last year, for instance. So last year, just to put things in context, we lost more hours due to strikes than COVID. So just keep that in mind that, that's what we're looking at. That's what is at stake here. The other thing with Bill C-58 too is that it takes away that bargaining in good faith versus striking, because it kind of gives the union an upper hand. And so again, just really, really watching that one. As I said, just wrote a letter to the minister, and we're looking to just have some conversation about that and the impact that that's going to have on those industries.
Can we I don't want to be all bad news bears when we talk. Obviously there's reason for optimism. There's lots of really good things going on right now. But the fact of the matter is that if you stack up Canada's productivity and GDP growth against other advanced economies, how do I phrase this? There's room for improvement. Which is what some of my teachers used to say to me. Can you give us a pretty clear understanding of how Canada is stacking up right now against, big economies? We like to talk about, G7 economy. We like to talk about Canada as an innovator and a global leader in some of the fields and obviously, areas that we're very proud of. Where's Canada standing right now? What's one thing that you think needs to happen for Canada to continue to realize its true potential and benefit all Canadians for that matter?
Yeah, so, it's just has to be said, we're among the lowest in advanced countries and advanced economies in terms of GDP. And I mean, you can talk to great minds, great economists, and it boils down to productivity. It's a productivity issue. And we really think a lot of that has to do with some of these policies. I mean, what has to happen is we need to just take a step back, slow down, and really start consulting the industries, consulting the business community, consulting the individuals, so that as a country, we can move forward together and do things that will greatly enhance quality of life in our country, such as, being able to export LNG, just as we talked about. That's just one example. But all of these other policy and priorities, the consultation process is an amazing thing, because we can actually dive into, if we're just talking about emissions, for instance, we're all in the business community and our members are all 100% behind, environmental policy that's, going to impact generations going forward. We all want to have that for our communities, for our country. But we have to do that in a way that's not punitive. We have to do that in a way that's going to continue to see our economy be prosperous, be resilient, and be able to support these future generations. So it all has to be balanced. And that can only happen when we're listening to those people who are in those industries, are in the trenches, and actually understand what's going on and understand what are the new technologies, what are the new ways that we can be looking at our industries and increasing that productivity piece, because bottom line, that's where our challenge is in Canada.
Okay. The Alberta Chambers, obviously representing me, you talk about you get CEOs and business leaders contributing to your surveys and participating in the process, but you're also looking out for those that are the leaders of tomorrow, for the people that are looking to get started. Talk to us about, your welcome on behalf of the ACC to the future of hiring and recruitment and what your team is doing for job fairs, hiring fairs. We've talked a lot, you and I, about talent development. This is going to catch the attention of some people that are just looking for an opportunity to get their foot in the door.
Absolutely. So we're really excited right now. We have a project going on across the province where we're looking to engage underrepresented communities into the workforce. So really excited that we launched that program. We had 9 job fairs in March. We had over 4,000 job seekers and over 240 employers. And so we're just really excited about the momentum of that. There's another 7 of those scheduled for April. So I would just, anybody who's looking for employees, anybody who, may be in some of these communities that are underrepresented in our workforce, please check out, the Alberta Chamber website and just look at hiring opportunities. Again, the Talent Development Task Force, we've talked about that a lot, and we did a fantastic panel on that a few months ago. But right now, there's really great opportunities for employers who are looking to engage students with my tax funding. So I would just encourage you to go to our Talent Development Task Force and take a look at those funding opportunities if you are looking to engage a student either at a university, high school, or out of the university, specifically. Please take advantage of that funding. It's there and it's really easy. It's just a click away. And then finally, just right now we have our hiring intentions survey in the market. So again, our Alberta Perspectives platform, we would love to hear, what the needs are of your businesses around skills and labor so that we can share that information and that data out as well. So that survey is in the market now. It closes on April 12th. So I think that's it.
All right.
A lot of stuff around talent.
There's so much.
Always. It's one of our, key pillars.
I feel like when you're coming on and we're like, she's got her eye on Alberta business, I'm like, I got to watch this twice. To wrap my mind around all the information that's being presented, because it's great and it gives people an understanding of where Alberta's business community is at, the people driving the economy, the resource. I mean, if we want to direct people to one place, the Alberta Chambers of Commerce website, abchamber.ca, but we'll link to a lot of the individual stuff that you and I talked about, including, of course, you've got your quarterly skills and labor market survey, which is open. We'll have the link to that in the show notes. It's open till April 12th, so people have a week and a bit to get that completed. And you and I, hey, I'll give a quick tease to the audience. I've reached out. I was
going to do that. Spoiler alert.
Well, you go ahead. Are we going to talk about our roundtable? It's not put together yet, so we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. But we want to explore different opportunities and economic realities, and so we're going to put together a fulsome discussion on LNG.
Yeah.
And start kind of at the basics and then work our way into the more nuanced stuff and talk about the future and the potential of it. And maybe on the flip side, the reality of if there's no progress made on it. And so that'll be coming up on a future episode of Real Talk, and we'll let everybody know by way of our social media channels.
Fantastic. I was going to suggest that maybe we should invite the Prime Minister of Greece and the heads of Germany and Japan to join us and give us their take on it as well.
Well, we've got the Prime Minister of Canada in studio already, so I don't see why they wouldn't do it. We'll see what we can. We'll see what we can do. We'll have our people talk to their people, Shauna. Yeah. We'll see if we can get them. Hey, it's nice to see you, and thanks for making time for us today. We appreciate it.
As always, my pleasure.
Yeah,
have a fantastic rest of your week.
Yeah, you too, Shauna. Thanks. That's Shauna Feth, the president and CEO of the Alberta Chambers of Commerce, with her eye on Alberta business. I was trying to keep, the live chat, I love it. You guys are like, there's somebody that has experience or insight into virtually everything that we ever talk about, which I appreciate. I'm not sure I agree with all of this. Like for Jordan says they need to end the temporary foreign worker program altogether. I personally know employers. I'm not going to name names because they've not given me the green light to do so, to speak on behalf of their companies. Weird, I know. But they would be screwed without the temporary foreign worker program. And then you're going to go, well, yeah, but look what Travis says. It's because the temporary foreign worker program exists only to drive labor prices down. I don't know about that. I saw another comment here. Where was it later on? Somebody made a great point about how it was Alberta Girl that says, this is loaded language, but the spirit of the comment, Alberta Girl says we have a population of entitled people. They don't want the dirty jobs. They don't want the lower paying jobs. So Canada needs immigrant labor, temporary foreign workers, until AI fills the gap and we get more automation. Interesting. That opens up about 3 cans in one sentence. But I've talked to a bunch of business owners working in ag, working in industry, that say, listen, without temporary foreign workers, they wouldn't be able to get the jobs done. And these jobs are posted and open and available to Canadians, but either Canadians are disinterested in them, they don't have the experience for those jobs and are not interested in getting the experience, or like our commenter said there, they simply don't want what comes with the territory. In 100%. Other words, the dirt under their fingernails and the calluses and the skinned knees for the amount of money they're going to make. They just don't think it's worth it.
We need to fill those gaps. And immigrants who come here, no matter what you want to say about immigration, they're hardworking. They're coming here to create a life, and they're ready to do whatever job that is. And I'm not just talking about, what we think the bottom of the barrel jobs is, but like you said, a lot of, especially younger people getting out of school. We were talking about this the other day, getting into trades. They all want to make lots of money. They all want to make six figures, but there's a lot of jobs we need for just everyday life that need to be filled.
You look at when we talk to a lot of innovators on this show, and there's not, this is, I got to be careful here because now we're painting with really broad brushes. But how many entrepreneurs and innovators and movers and shakers have you heard from that say, I am the child of immigrants?
Yes.
Or I am the grandchild of immigrants.
And what was instilled in them.
What was instilled in me. And I saw what my parents or my grandparents did to provide these opportunities for us to leave, this place and to come to this place and to learn the language and to try to, understand the culture and to try to contribute. Yeah. We don't even, I say this, people oftentimes say, you're privileged. Yeah, no shit. That is not lost on me at all. I basically had every opportunity afforded to me in life. I'm grateful for that. Mm-hmm. You don't apologize for it, but you also recognize when you see somebody else that's fled or left, different circumstances. In some cases, not every circumstance, but a lot of them horrific, like war-torn country. We're talking about all these types of people. And they come here, they don't understand the language. The climate is like a punch in the face. Mm-hmm. There's all these things, and still to persevere and to work. And, I just think, so I don't have the inside understanding of industry and temporary foreign workers, but what I do know, what people tell me, and what people tell me is that their businesses would not function, or the potential. Yeah. We're talking revenue, the potential and growth potential of their businesses is capped or limited without temporary foreign workers.
And this is why business owners want to hire immigrants, because they're very hardworking. I know some people. I was talking to a guy today who gave me a ride to work. He's got 2 jobs, and he's going to doing online school, and he's got a family. Why would we not want to fill all the gaps with these people? And I know. We were just talking about this now, how they're capping on foreign students coming here, and I get what the move means, but I don't agree with it. I think immigrants built not only this country, but the United States, from the ground up. We owe a lot to them. So
Whiskey La, just kidding, bud, says wage suppression is a big reason for temporary foreign workers. Jordan follows up. We always want to read the follow-ups in case I've misinterpreted your comment. Jordan says, I'm not saying temporary foreign workers aren't hardworking. He says the problem is the implementation of the program. Alberta Ginger says, I love how Jespo is fine with temporary foreign workers being a subservient underclass within Canadian society.
That's not what we're saying at all.
Talking about? I'm talking about the fact that farmers and producers and people that work in other businesses are saying, based on our years of experience and participating in hiring fairs and trying to recruit people and attract people to work for us, it's not been possible. And so we've been able to function by bringing people from other parts of the world that are grateful for the job. Don't try to read into all the stuff I'm saying. I'm just saying if there's a bunch of experienced agricultural workers from Mexico that would love to come up to Canada and work for 6 months and be able to send money back to their families, then
and nobody here wants to do it.
Then I don't know. Is that okay with me being cool with a subservient underclass? What? So I think that there needs to be worker protections. We need to look after people. Perhaps there needs to be, some sort of and maybe there is. I don't know the program inside out, but some sort of a carrot where you participate in this, then it paves the way for this. Ultimately, if you're looking for permanent landed immigrant status or permanent resident status, or you want to become a Canadian citizen, maybe that factors into it. I believe that everybody should be treated with dignity and respect, and I think that this is a conversation about the practicality of running businesses, keeping them functioning, keeping service provision where we need it in the country, and also providing opportunity for people living within and outside of Canada. So listen, I understand that not everything can be communicated in a live chat comment or in a tweet. If you want to send us an email, you please do so to talk@RyanJesperson.com. and we get to as many emails as we can through the week. I'm going to resolve to try to get to one email at least every show this week, because we've got a ton of good ones. I think people just over the Easter weekend were out walking their dogs. They were out with their families and maybe, even by themselves catching up, listening to the podcast. And obviously it prompted responses from a lot of you because our inbox did not slow down. I can't remember. Did I talk on the show about my Uber ride the other day with the dentist?
No.
So I got into an Uber. I was on my way to lunch.
Yeah.
And I get into an Uber and strike up a conversation with this guy. And he ends up, it turns out he's a dentist from Ukraine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And he's been here for a little while. And we started talking. He apologizes for his English. His English was like flawless. I didn't even know. I said, bud, your English is much better than my Ukrainian.
Yeah.
But he, by the time he dropped me off, we sat there for a few minutes. For once in my life, I was a few minutes early for lunch. And we just he turned around in his seat and we were just talking. And he was talking about his dream of opening or joining a dental practice. He doesn't care where, but he's looking for a good opportunity, a good fit. He said he was talking to me. He was talking about he's a dental surgeon in Ukraine. I asked him, do you ever think, do you dream of going back? Would you like to go back? He said, I don't see a way where I go back. This is his new life here. But the guy, just a salt of the earth, wonderful kind of guy. There's nothing that's not dignified about people that are working in personal transportation or people that are providing rides to people. But when you have a skilled dental surgeon that's driving Uber because he's looking for an opportunity and try to find a way to make that happen. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of those stories in Canada, people that have come here for new opportunity.
It's the majority of the stories. And I saw a comment in here. I'm not going to allude to the person, but it's basically alluding to the fact that, many immigrants that come here are not hardworking and some are. That's not the stats we see. I'm looking at them right now in 2023, 5.8% of landed immigrants in Canada were unemployed. Compare that to people who were born in Canada, 5.1%. It's the same amount.
Yeah.
The same amount of people who are unemployed who were born here, pretty much, from those who are landed immigrants who come here. It's the same amount of people who are lazy in every demographic. It's not people who come here. They're hardworking. They're actually, I would say they're more hardworking because they're here for a reason. They're doing it for a reason. Like you said, they're learning English as well as maybe going to school and having a couple jobs. Those are the people want to hire, right?
Alberta Ginger is following up with the character assault against me. I'm joking. I'm kidding. Says Jespo be like, I've consulted business owners if they like cheaper labor, and they do. Pay Canadians. Let me tell you something. You could offer Canadians, I don't know what, say, hypothetically speaking, on a farm. Okay, there's a lot of farms. A lot of the agriculture industry relies on temporary foreign workers. I was looking at the numbers. I think it's something there's about 20,000. Alberta has approximately 20,000 temporary foreign workers working in the province, and about 17,000 of them are working in the agriculture and agri-food sector. So the lion's share, 17 out of 20,000. Okay, 17,000 out of 20,000. If you offered a 50% pay increase or a 60 or 70% pay increase, which I know if you're the CFO of a company or if you're the general manager, or if you're in charge of hiring, you're going, what? 50%? What? The company's got to remain viable. The company's got to remain profitable. Profit is not a dirty word, everybody. But if you offered a 50% pay increase for more people, more Canadians, more Albertans, old stock Albertans, to move down to Brooks and go work in the slaughterhouse, or to go to go work in the fields and bust your backs and do all that hard work, you think automatically people would take those jobs? Do you think it's the fact that it's not another $3 an hour? The Canadians aren't banging down the doors at Tim Hortons to get those jobs that the people that are coming over from the Philippines and elsewhere are taking? Do we really think that that's the issue here? That the companies are sitting on huge piles of cash, that all these business owners working in agriculture are so flush, and they're just the last thing they want is to hire people in there that are already in their communities. The last thing they want, it's a conspiracy against hiring the sons and daughters of their next door neighbors. Is that the problem? I find it hard to believe that that's the problem. But maybe, and it's possible, it's happened before. Maybe I am missing the point entirely. And you can throw some facts at us. Send us, if you're a business owner, if you're in particular a business owner that's got a real beef with no pun intended, with the temporary foreign worker program, we'd love to hear from you. Not just that you have the problem, but why? And if you have an alternative solution, we would love to hear it. We love exploring
hear the
new
alternative
perspectives here.
How do we fill these gaps, right? And what you're saying is that, like, it obviously everyone knows things are tight for everyone, including business owners. Of course they want to pay the minimum. Of course they don't want to pay that much, but somebody has to do these jobs. I also will also point out that, like, a lot of these people that come here, they had degrees in some of them are doctors and lawyers and physicians
100%.
and scientists and they had these degrees in their own country, and they come here and they're moot. They're back to square one. So these are smart, intelligent, hardworking people who are just trying to support their family and make a life here.
Do us a favor if you like what you've heard today, and even if you don't like what you've heard today, but you appreciate different perspectives on the show. I mean, we've had two very different perspectives on the job that Danielle Smith is doing, as an example, back to back on the show. That's the whole point. We want to have meaningful, fulsome, integrity-driven conversation on this show. Give this episode a like, will you? Share it with people that you know would benefit from it. The first episode of every week, courtesy of our friends at Kuby Renewable Energy. You can get a free solar quote today at kubyenergy.ca. We take a look at a story that is like restoring our faith in humanity, a story that makes us smile, a story that fills our buckets, so to speak. This is our chance to say goodbye to the negativity. An opportunity to focus on the positives, to maybe step outside the news cycle, although, Johnny, that is not necessarily the case today, because this is a story of an Alberta woman that made news just a few days ago. This is Donna Jean Wilde out of Magrath, Alberta. Shout out to the community of Magrath, Alberta. Donna Jean is the new Guinness World Record holder with what this is. You're listening on the podcast. Imagine you're in the push-up position and your knees are up, no knees down. You're in the push-up position except for on your elbows instead of your hands. So the reason that Donna Jean first started planking, as her family tells us, she broke her wrist a while ago. Now, she's always been, her son says, like, listen, I grew up in a home where, like, you know, when I woke up for school, mom had already run, like, 5 miles. Like, that's basically the tradition that she's established. This is a woman that has just had fitness paramount in her life. But about 10 years ago, she broke her wrist, and she found that the one exercise that she could continue to do with a cast on was planking. And ever since then, she's made this part of her routine. Her husband, Randy, tells this hilarious story. When they watch movies together for, like, date night at home, so, like, the average movie's like 2 hours, 15 minutes.
Sure.
She planks the entire time. Oh my God. She checks her phone. She catches up on her correspondence. She planks for hours and hours at a time. So a while ago, she made a sort of a resolution. She said, I'm going to set the Guinness World Record for the longest abdominal plank. It was, by the way, held by another Canadian named Dana Gloaka. Dana set the record in 2019. So the record stood for about 5 years up until just a few days ago when Donna Jean Wilde stopped by Magrath Elementary School, and in front of a cheering legion of fans and supporters, including her husband and her kids. She's got 12 grandkids as well. Shout out to them. Donna Jean Wilde held an abdominal plank for 4 hours, 30 minutes, and 11 seconds, which was about 10 minutes longer than the existing Guinness World Record. She set the record in front of her family and friends. Can you imagine? You're the grandchild. You're one of these grandkids, and grandma just set a world record for abdominal plank. Try to wrap your mind around 4.5 hours. So all these kids tried to do it along with her, and you could see these little guys doing their best. I don't think I could hold a plank for 3 minutes. I honestly don't know. Maybe we should do that on a future episode. We'll do it for, like, to raise money for charity or something. Actually, I love this idea. Johnny can do the abdominal plank. We'll see if we can control. Could you operate the show? Could you control it? Could you technically produce the show in the planking position?
No, I need both arms. You can do it, though, and I'll watch.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the interview would be losing focus. So a shout out to the entire Wilde clan out of Magrath, Alberta, and in particular, the matriarch, Donna Jean, the official Guinness World Record holder for the longest abdominal plank at 4 hours, 30 minutes, 11 seconds. You, Donna, have inspired all of us, and that's why we're proud to feature you in this week's edition of Positive Reflections, presented by our friends at Kuby Renewable Energy. Coming up later in this week, we're going to check in with a former wildfire lookout tower worker, also working as a journalist. She's got an incredible story to tell, and we're going to take a look at what we can expect across Western Canada in the next few months. We're also going to take a look at an upstart new federal political party. Yeah, you heard me right. We're going to get to those details this week, and a Real Talk Roundtable on hydrogen. That's coming up as we wrap up this week of shows on Real Talk. They would not be possible without you, Real Talkers. Thanks so much for everything you do to make sure this Real Talk continues. We'll see you soon.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson, executive producer Josh Dunford, technical producer John Hicks, general manager Katie Cook-Chivers, account coordinator Lawrence Derlego, human resources Lena Shepard, website design Mike Johnston, voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton. Real Talk's editorial board is Supriya Dwivedi, Ahmed Ali, Brandy Morin, Ann Castleman, Corey Hogan, Harmon Candola, Catherine O'Neill, and Chris Henderson. Member Emerita, Julie Rohr. Real Talk is recorded in Edmonton, Alberta on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux, home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta. Real Talk is a relay project. For more, check out ryanjesperson.com.